What's going wrong in this country when we can't even have a decent, calm, peaceful Christian organization like Turning Point USA? They can't even hold a rally without an organized mob has a premeditated attack on the crowds outside the place. What is going wrong? We know there's a lot wrong on the left, but unfortunately, the idiots and fools that are causing problems in our society, they don't end with the attackers on the left. Yeah, we've seen it. We've watched it all year long. Those people, they started out burning Tesla dealerships. In fact, they've made a couple attempts on Trump's life. They've gotten very dangerous. There is a militant wing of the radical left. I'm not going to say Democrats because there are some good Democrat people around. But the radical left is out of control and nobody likes it, not even the other Democrats. But what is wrong when we can't have peaceful discourse among citizens? And it's not just at the rallies. It's not just the guy that drives the car through a crowd. Anybody that has any experience with social media knows that there's something that's on decline in America. The common decency, the mutual respect, the ability to just be decent and talk to other people. Where is that going? There are too many people now, and it's on both sides, that are strictly my way or no way. If you disagree with them in the slightest, you're trash, you should be dead. Unfortunately, I really have seen this on both sides, and if you spend any time with social media, you have too. So there's two problems. There's a violent wing of the left that's really causing a lot of problems, that's hampering the whole country. And then there's the decline in the general nature of citizens across the country from all walks of life that is really debilitating our ability to communicate. When you can't go into social media without seeing some person attack someone or attack you with vile and profane nonsense just because they don't agree with what you say, that's out of control. Whatever happened to common decency? We used to have what we called mutual respect, common courtesies. People were ladies and gentlemen. There was always some bad ones, but not very many, and they were ostracized by everybody else. Now they're coming from everywhere. Again, I'm going to say it, it's on both sides, unfortunately. The violent stuff from the radical left, that's in a class by itself. But across the board, there's a decline. You don't see it so much in public as you do in social media. When people get on the subject of politics in social media, they just get stupid. There's no other way to say it, because when you really think about it, you start looking at the things that these people post, the nasty ones, they're stupid people. We got stupid people destroying everything. It's like, this is why we can't have nice things. It's stupid people. It's like Mr. T used to say, they're playing the fool. But come on, this guy that got attacked, and that was brutal. The guy was just preaching a message of the love of Christ. For that, the man gets beat up and bloodied. I was really disappointed that more people in the crowd didn't step up to help that guy. That's wrong. You know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. I hope the people around there think about it. That guy should have never been subject to that in the first place. It should not have happened. But that was an organized mob. There are reports that it was up to 500 people that had joined together in the effort to disrupt the Turning Point rally. My way or no way. You think like me or you don't have a right to speak. And that's the side that says that conservatives are destroying democracy. Make that make sense. We used to have a saying, it was an old Voltaire quote: I may not agree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. I heard that all the time when I was a kid. First time I ever heard that, somebody talking to Walter Cronkite. I mean, that was how it was back then. It had been that way for 225 years in America. People disagreed right from the start, but they could disagree and still be human to each other. Common courtesies, mutual respect. People want to be respected, but you have to be respectable. You have to earn it. And we've got people that don't even care about it. Were they raised this way? Now, we do know that there's a lot of bad people raising bad people today. There's a lot of people that weren't raised right, or they went bad on their own. They got subjected to the colleges and universities. Some of those people are the worst, and we know it because our education system has been taken over by these psychotic weirdos. And the truth is, when I was a kid in school, politics wasn't discussed. We talked about government, but personal politics, we didn't even know what our teachers thought about politics personally. We didn't know which side they were on. They didn't voice their views in the classroom. Now it's commonplace. I had 4 kids in public school. Believe me, it's in every grade. That shouldn't be taking place. But what is wrong when people can't agree to disagree and still be friends? When I was a kid, my mom was one of the people that always said, it's not polite to discuss religion and politics in mixed company. My dad was the opposite. My dad would discuss politics with anybody, anywhere at the drop of a hat. He'd drop it himself. But he was decent about it. He was decent to other people. We went to a church that was a true church family. It was a small church. Everybody got along. After the services, the men would go outside the door and they would all smoke. They'd all get together and smoke. Run right outside. I'd go out and hang around. Politics was a common topic among those men. And they were not all on the same side. There were Republicans and Democrats. But they were friends, and they would talk about things. They would kid each other. You can't really believe that. Oh, come on. Anyway, I remember on the way home, my dad would make a comment once in a while. Oh, so-and-so, I don't want to drop any names here, but so-and-so, he really got some crazy ideas, but, oh, well, I hope I can turn him around. They didn't agree, but they were friends. They were decent to each other. Nobody got all worked up and angry. You know what was different back then? We didn't have social media. Families were closer. Families ate dinner together. There was a tighter family structure. Kids got raised right. Most kids had 2 parents in the home. People got raised right. For 225 years, it was old school. Well, after 225 years, you could say it's just the way we were. And that's gone now. Where is it? There's a lot of communities in the country where you have a natural disaster of some kind, or even if there's a wreck along the highway, people will stop. Nobody cares about the politics in those situations. People just go in and help. Of course, when FEMA gets involved, we all know what happened after Hurricane Helene, but that was political figures, not your average Joe on the street. People in daily life are generally pretty good to each other. But when you get those same people online, they become someone else. It kind of reminds me of a Bill Cosby skit about drugs. Bill Cosby asked a guy, he says, why do you take drugs? He says, well, the drugs, they help you be who you are. Cosby says, all right, what if you're an asshole? And the truth is, that's what happens in social media. The anonymity, the ability to hide behind a keyboard and not have to face consequences for what you say or do. Unfortunately, for weak-minded people, here we are again, right back to the stupid people. That's why we can't have nice things. It's the stupid people. They'll lash out and with the most vile, profane comments sometimes. I see people who call themselves Christian conservatives, and yet a woman will disagree with them, and they start calling her the nastiest, most profane names. They insult them. They just degrade them. And you know darn well if they were face to face, first of all, the person wouldn't do it. And second of all, you know they wouldn't do it if there was a man around. But when you can hide behind a keyboard in your house and just be a total jerk, that's not because of the conversation. That's because there's something wrong inside of you. But this problem with the left, you know, we've had a lot of problems in the past in the country, you know, some flare-ups. Of course, we had the Civil War. But even during the Civil War, people in their own neighborhoods were good to each other. They weren't attacking fellow citizens. No one was getting in a wagon and driving it through a crowd. We've lost something along the way. And it's all begun since we got 2 things. Political media. We've got political shows that are just dedicated to politics. We've got The View. Rush Limbaugh got the conservative side going. And those types of shows, their bread and butter is the fact that they are united with the party. They are tied to a party. All of them are propagandists. No matter which side you agree with, you've got to agree they're all propagandists. They're all party affiliated. Part of promoting your own party is making the other one look bad. The problem with that is if it bleeds, it leads. So they show the worst possible case scenario of the people on the other side. That's why they've lied and doctored so many videos of Trump. That's why Trump is winning lawsuits against media outlets. He didn't do anything bad, so they had to make it look bad because they wanted to fire their crowds up. But that is their intention. They want to fire up the audiences so they oppose the other side. That's when a lot of this real vitriol began, was with the rise of political media from both sides. Like I say, we had a civil war, but people living in all the different communities were all good to each other, north and south. Heck, even the soldiers would cross the lines and get together. They would trade food, swap coffee for tobacco. There was more of a decency then in the Civil War than what there is in a lot of society today. We had all the riots in the 60s. Those were pretty bad. A couple of things come into play there. Number one, they were just really starting to get into the LSD. Number two, they had the draft. It came up on the colleges because none of those students that were protesting, they didn't want to be drafted. I mean, they were anti-draft protests. And that kind of got morphed into the political thing because the Democrats were with them on that. And that set the stage for a lot of things that are going on now because those old hippies from back in the 60s, they're the ones that guided the Democrat Party to where it is today. Now they've got this radical side because all the minorities, not just racial minorities, but sexual minorities, they catered to these people and they built themselves a power base, a Frankenstein that they can't control. The Democrat Party's at war with itself because they've got people in charge that represent a microcosm of society, and they're trying to get votes from half of society. Good luck with that. But the problem is, along the way, in creating this Frankenstein, they turned loose a lot of monsters within our society. People think it's okay to do bad things. One of the things that political media does is they pick out the very worst people from the other side, and they try to make it look like everybody on that side is that way. They pump up their audiences with something seductive like, you're the smart ones, you're not going to be like that. We care. We're not going to act like them. They don't care. I remember first time I heard Rush Limbaugh saying, Democrats, the bad thing about them is they hate you, they hate America, they hate God. I remember him saying that, and I could not believe it. It's like, are you kidding me? And that's when I started to realize how bad it could get. And that's when I realized why the left media was getting so bad. That kind of talk is seductive to one element of society. There are people that believe that. And it's just not true. You can't define the other side by the worst among them. I hear Republicans now saying, oh, them Democrats, they're just a bunch of pussy hat wearing nutcases. They're just stupid. They hate America. They want to destroy society. Well, unfortunately, there is a bunch like that. But it's not the majority of Democrats. Sure, I don't agree with what the Democrat Party is doing, but I know some damn good Democrats. I grew up with some people who are Democrats, and they're still good people. I've got Democrats in my family. They're good people. I don't agree with anything they say about politics, but they're good people. They're not going to firebomb your house. They're not going to drive a car through the country. They don't want the destruction of the country. And they're not into this crazy socialist woke crap either. That's the difference. You can't believe that all Democrats are into it just because the party bosses are. There's a lot of people in the Democrat Party that don't like what the party bosses are doing. On the other hand, we've got the Democrats. They say that Everybody on the right, they're a bunch of MAGA nut Trump worshipers. They're all a bunch of white supremacists, rich people. All they want to do is abuse minorities, exploit them for gain. It's all a bunch of rich people trying to take away from the poor man. Both sides are doing it. It's wrong. You can't define the other side by the worst among them, but unfortunately, a lot of people do. And now we're at this level where a lot of people are even pulling out of social media because of the indecency. My recommendation, just block them. That's why we have a block feature. Refuse to be a part of it. Just tell somebody, if that's how you're going to be, I got to block you. I don't want to, but I will if I have to. Were they raised this way? Most people weren't. But we've got more of them than we used to have. A lot of these people are raising people. What happens when their kids grow up? This grows exponentially. Can we go back from where we are now? What is the pathway back to decency? Because truthfully, right now, I don't see it, because it doesn't look to me like enough people are willing. What kind of country are we leaving our kids and grandkids when this is what's happening? The problem is, it's not just America. It's all of Western society, because the forces that are behind this, that are behind that radical left stuff, those forces are international. They collaborate. Everything that's going wrong from the left with all the crazy stuff, even the Palestinian support, that's affecting Europe, it's affecting Australia, it's affecting America. All the trouble is in those countries. Okay, all of the problems that the left brings to us are all focused on Western society. We've got people that are trying to bring down Western society. And part of that is by making it miserable. That's how Satan works, You foment despair. Once you have people in the passions of despair, they're pliable. But we can't have civilization if we don't have civil people. People have to be willing to be civil. That means being decent to others. There's a reason Trump is suing so many of these media outlets, because they have had to lie to make it look like he's worse than what he is. But people believe those lies, and it makes them angry. When you got a whole bunch of those people together in social media, you have a mental mob complex. We all know that mobs are capable of doing things that no individual would do on their own, bad things. And when you get all those people together in social media with the anonymity and the safety of the keyboard, it seems to bring out the worst in people. Patrick Swayze had a quote from that movie Roadhouse. Here he was training a bunch of bouncers in a redneck, wild chicken wire bar where they had a bunch of violent drunks. What was his philosophy? Just be nice. That's true. That's what they teach you as a bouncer. De-escalate. Just be nice. People need to learn how to de-escalate online. If you run into these people, they're just incorrigible. They can't act like adults in adult conversation. If they don't hit what you prefer as a level of decency, you got to block them. Tell them, look, we need to have adult conversations. We can't do that with you in here acting like that. Find your own way to tell them. Be as polite as you choose to be, but be nice. Don't let them pull you down. It's tempting. I know I've blown it before. I'm done with it, because this is just getting worse, and this is not where our society needs to go. We need to improve, and I still don't see a pathway back from where we are. Is it possible to be decent again? The kind of decent we used to be. During the riots of the 60s, when everybody was so upset and there was so much turmoil, it was just affecting the people there. Or I should say infecting. It was infecting the people of the colleges, and then we had the Black Panther movement come up at the same time. There was some civil rights crap going on. But the people involved were most of it. Some of the riots got out of hand and burned stuff up, but you could go to stores and people were decent to you. They would hold doors. I mean, there was a mutual respect that just isn't there now. Most of society was still safe. At the time when we were having those riots, kids were safe playing in parks by themselves. That's not true today because we've lost some part of decency. If you believe in an ideology that tells you you need to start by hating people, come on, we've got to be rude. We got to make sure they don't talk. We got to make sure we shut them up. They don't have a right to talk. Remember Voltaire. I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. The people who claim that the right is destroying democracy are the ones that are destroying discourse. When those Charlie Kirk people out there at Turning Point USA in Berkeley, when they're being attacked, and that isn't the first place, for God's sake, look what happened to Charlie. You're being shot for what you say when you're preaching a message of peace and unity. They have to make up a bunch of nonsense about him being a racist when that's been proven wrong over and over again. Yeah, we've lost something in this country when people get shot just for having an opinion. My problem is I don't see a pathway back. The only way it can come back is it's up to us. All we can do as individuals is mind our own P's and Q's, stay in our own lane, and control the dialogue where we are. If somebody gets to acting that way with you, shut them down, walk away, be done with it. I want to have an adult conversation. If that's where you're going, it's over. Look, if you're going to act like a 6-year-old kid, we're done talking. Block them. Give them a chance if you know the person. Give them a chance. Send them a private message if you don't want to do it publicly. But just tell them you got to set the standards and you've got to keep them yourself. If you don't have standards, why would our country? This is up to all of us, my friends. It really is. It's up to all of us. We've all got to tone it down a little bit. We got to let the better angels of our nature take over, because the truth is we're losing something that is very difficult to get back. Everybody wants it. Everybody likes the kinder, more decent times. But if we're not willing to do it individually, how's anything going to get better? I'm as good at gutting people online as anybody. Yeah, I can do it, but I've gotten tired of it myself. The truth is, there's getting to be too much of it. Especially now that there's so many of these crazy kook Democrats that will troll you. They load up the groups and they just troll and attack. Block them, block them, block them, block them immediately as soon as you smell them. We've got a Facebook group. Boom. One time, you're out. Just don't allow it. Don't make it acceptable. If it's acceptable behavior, why wouldn't they continue it? It's got to be stopped. But right now, we've got holidays coming. There are families that can't even get together because of political division. That's taking it way too far. There's been a lot of problems, like, maybe a husband had an affair with a sister or something like that. There's always been those kind of problems. There's always been the jerk uncle nobody liked. Sure, that's always been a problem, but you still got together and had your holidays. Now people can't do that. There are families where the grandparents don't get to see the grandkids. That's a loss for the grandkids and the grandparents. What is wrong with people when they will do that over politics? No, that's wrong. It's not politics. It's brainwashing. You're being used. Families can't get together for holidays. Think about that. That's something America always united and looking forward to. When I was a kid, everybody was anxious for the holidays. It was a big deal. You got ready in advance. You anticipated it. You thought about your relatives. That's how the kids learn the value of family. They get in there, they meet their aunts and uncles, cousins. A lot of that's not happening now just because of politics. How sad is that? Because people aren't adult enough to be able to live together, to be able to get together for a day. They can't keep their mouths shut. Once again, the stupid people are ruining it for everybody. The stupid people are ruining social media. Cut them out. Try to have your family together. If there's somebody that won't show or that nobody wants there because you know they're going to act up, leave them out, but still do it. If it helps, you can always make it clear up front. We're going to have an all family and no politics Thanksgiving. We're going to get together for Christmas and we're leaving the politics out of it. If that works for you, good. I hope it does. We can't let this attitude of willing division infect our country any farther than it already has. The first thing we got to do before we can talk about a pathway back, we got to stop it right where it's at. Then we can start going back. That starts with you. It starts with me. Each one of us has to set our own standards. We got to get this right, my friends. We got too great a country to lose over nonsense like this. Yeah, we got to get it right. And if we do, maybe God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.